Hi, this is Trey Pastor. I'm going to do, I've done quite a few videos about Avengers Endgame. I did a spoiler-free review, I did a spoilers review, and right now I'm recording this one. I'm uploading the Hangout I did with on Sunday with a couple of other fellow YouTubers. That video should be up probably before this one, and then I'll probably put this one up. But this video is going to be about the emotional moments, 10 emotional moments from Avengers Endgame. Of course, this discussion is going to have spoilers in it, obviously, of course. So if you haven't seen Avengers Endgame, you can tune away. Okay, you can watch my spoiler-free review if you want. But this is for people who have seen Avengers Endgame. And again, I apologize. My voice is a little rough because I said I'm kind of getting over a cold. But anyway, I picked 10 moments, 10 emotional moments in Avengers Endgame that really got to me, and I want to make a video about it and discuss it a little bit. Okay, and this is in no particular order, because I was just kind of going from memory because I saw it twice on Friday opening day, and I'm probably going to see it again this week coming up. But okay, top 10 or my 10 favorite emotional moments in Avengers Endgame. The first thing I thought about was Black Widow's death. Now, of course, when the Avengers, it's 5 years later after the Avengers have failed, after they tracked Thanos down and they found out that he destroyed the stone. So basically, there's no way for them to reverse the snap, and Thor cuts his head off, and then they jump 5 years ahead. And then later they find out when Ant-Man comes out of the quantum realm that for him it's only been 5 hours. But it's been 5 years, so he decides, he comes up with the theory that we can actually use the quantum realm to go back in time and get the stones and, do the snap and reverse what Thanos did. And so they divide the teams up and they go back in the past to do, at certain points of the past. Hawkeye and Black Widow, they go back to the planet where, they meet the spirit of the Red Skull, and he tells them, of course, to get the Soul Stone, you have to sacrifice somebody you love. Now, going into the movie, I didn't think about that moment, about getting the Soul Stone. I didn't think about that until I actually saw them on the planet. Then I saw the Red Skull, then I remembered. Then it clicked in my brain, oh, man, okay, they're going to have to kill. One of them has to die. Either Hawkeye or Scarlet Witch has to die for them to get the Soul Stone, just like, Thanos killed Gamora to get the Soul Stone. And, at first I thought it might be Hawkeye. It didn't occur to me that it would be Black Widow. For some reason, I thought it was going to be Hawkeye for some reason. But thinking logically of it after the fact, it made sense for it to be Scarlet Witch because, let's say, Hawkeye had an arc in this movie. He was the very first scene, his family getting dusted. So, there was supposed to be that. And then he went off the rails and became Ronin and was killing everybody. And then he came back to the Avengers and the hope with reversing the snap and then reuniting with his family. So it kind of wouldn't make sense in a way that if he did all that and then lost his family anyway, and then he never saw his family. So it kind of made sense for him to actually not be the one to die, so that way he gets reunited with his family once they reverse the snap. Okay, so then it was her. But like I said, it stunned me because, they did the back and forth thing where at first you thought it was, he kind of, they were talking at each other and it seemed almost like that Hawkeye thought for a minute that she agreed to let him do it, but then he thought about it and said, no, I think we're not talking about the same thing. And then he tried to do it, and then she stopped him, and then she tried to do it, he stopped her, and then he did it, but then she jumped on top of him, and she's basically hanging off him, and then she told him to let him go, and then while he's holding on to the and she plunges to her death, she dies basically in the same spot basically as Gamora, and it was just stunning to me that Black Widow died. And just because Scarlett Johansson's a big star, of course, obviously, but she's a integral part of the Avengers. Basically, she was holding it together for everybody when everything went off the rails. 5 years later, she was the only one in communications with everybody. You saw that in that one scene where she was in communication with everybody. So that's why it stunned me that it was her. That that I didn't see that coming at all, and that's why her death. But the only, I guess, like I said, negative thing about it was they did mention it, of course, when Hawkeye got back, and there's a little brief discussion of it, and then you see Hulk throw that little bench, and then, there's no further mention of it. which is kind of disappointing. And I don't know if they cut, maybe there was a scene they cut it for time or whatever it was, but her death really, again, stunned me, and I wasn't expecting that. So that was a really good emotional moment. Now, the second thing I thought about was Tony Stark's death. Uh, Going into the movie, I thought for sure Cap was going to die. I wasn't sure. Once they introduced Tony Stark's daughter into the movie, I thought, okay, he's not going to die. He's just probably just going to retire, and go raise his family. And he did for the first 5 years after the snap. So I thought for sure that maybe he wasn't going to die. I thought for sure Cap was going to die for sure. I knew it. I just had it in the feeling that Cap was going to make that ultimate sacrifice and be the one to die, and then Tony would go on and live his life as a retired, father, and he could just bankroll the Avengers and just be retired, and then we come back every once in a while. So I wasn't expecting him to die, but once they had that mad scramble, to prevent Thanos from getting the the second Infinity Gauntlet, and then when Doctor Strange gave Tony that look, and put up the one finger, meaning this is the one in a 14 million chance that we stop Thanos, and then you saw Tony had that look on his face that, yeah, okay, I have to do this. So he jumps Thanos, and Thanos easily throws him off, and then does the snap. He says I think he says, I am inevitable, and he snaps, and nothing happens. And then you see Tony with the Infinity Gauntlet on his hand, on his iron glove, and he says, well, I am Iron Man, and it snaps, and bam, then you see all Thanos' troops start to disintegrate, and then you even see Thanos sit down, and then he disintegrates. And then we find out Tony, of course, we know because they kept mentioning it, Thanos did the snap, he almost killed himself, and when the Hulk did it, it took a lot out of him as well. So, of course, Tony being a regular human, you see him sitting there, and he's like, half of his body's like fried, completely fried, and he really can't even speak. And you see Rhodey's like the first one to him, and you see Rhodey's looking at him and crying, and he's not saying. And then you see Spider-Man swing in and say, Mr. Stark, Mr. Stark, and we won, and then you see him getting all emotional and stuff, and Tony's like completely out of it. And then Pepper comes to him, and she kind of pushes Spider-Man to the side, pulls him to the side, and she gets Tony's attention and tells him, okay, you can rest now. You can rest. And then you see the arc reactor go out, and then he dies, and then that's when it just really, that he died, that Tony died. And I guess we could have figured it out because he did have that reunion with his father, which is another emotional moment that I'll talk about later. And he had the daughter and stuff. So I guess it was only fitting that the MCU kind of really started with him, and ended with him, this portion of it, even though they say Spider-Man and Far From Home is the ending of phase 3, but it kind of is poetic that it began with him and it ended with him, and Tony finally got that real big hero moment where he saved the whole earth and everything else, and all of his friends got to be around him and see that. And I like what it said about Tony. This is proof that Tony Stark has a heart. When they had the big memorial at the end, where everybody's hanging around, and so that was good. And excuse me, I gotta take some water. My throat is dry as hell. Sorry about that. Anyway, so again, like I said, I was expecting Iron Man to die. I really thought, like I said, after he had the kid, that he was going to die, that he was just going to retire and go off with Pepper, which he did kind of in the 5 years after. But him dying really got to. That was a really good emotional moment for me. And number 3, Cap stayed in the past. Okay, after Tony died, and they had the memorial, and Cap was getting ready to go back in the past to return the Infinity Stones, like they said, just before they took them, so the timeline would stay the same. And then we see Cap get on the device and Professor Hulk get ready to start it and telling him, listen, you take as long as you take, but to us it's going to be just like 5 seconds. And so Sam is there and Bucky's there, and he says his goodbyes to them, and he gets on the thing with the hammer and the stones, and he goes back, and then all of a sudden, and when he's supposed to bring him back, nothing's happening, and of course Sam starts panicking, saying, what's wrong? Get him back, get him back. And Hulk says, I'm trying, and then you see Bucky look over to the bench and points towards the bench and tells Sam, over there. And that's when you see an older guy sitting on a bench, and Sam approaches him, and we find out that that's Cap, old man Cap. And what he did was he went the past, and I think he even says, I did what Iron Man, what Tony told me to do. I tried to get me some of that life. And he actually stayed in the past with Peggy, and he got to live his life. And he actually brought the shield back, and he handed it over to Sam. And so that ends, Captain America's arc in this phase of the Avengers, which I thought was nice. He got to, and that's how the movie ended, with him finally getting that dance with Peggy, and getting that kiss, and the movie going off like that. I think that was poetic. That Cap, he didn't have to die, which I thought he definitely was going to do. So I was happy as a Cap fan. I'm happy that he finally got his happy ending with the girl he loved, and he got to pass on the mantle of Captain America, and he got to have his life. And I thought that was really, for all the sacrifices that he did for this country, that was nice that he finally had that that he got that life. Okay, number 4, the return of the heroes. Okay, which I thought was great. The moment was great because Cap, Thanos had basically chopped half off of the shield of Captain America, and Cap, and wounded him in the leg, and Cap basically stands up and he tightens his shield, and he's facing off against Thanos' army, Thanos and his whole army, which at that point had just came down, and he tightens his shield and he stands up, and then you hear Sam's voice, Cap, can you hear me, Cap, and then that's when my movie theater went nuts when and Cap touches the earpiece. I think he says Sam, and then he said, yeah, Cap, you hear? And he said, Cap, on your left, which is, of course, what he kept saying to Cap kept saying to Sam the first time they met, when he kept passing him up when they were running around their reservoir. He kept lapping him. Basically, I thought that was a nice. In Winter Soldier, when he first met Sam, and he said, on your left, and then you see the portals open up, and then you see Black Panther, Shuri, and I forgot his bodyguard. Those are the first 3 that he saw, and then he saw all the other portals open up, and all the other heroes come out, and I thought that was absolutely, that was such a cheerful moment. And also, when you got to hear Cap call it Mjolnir back and grab it, and then says Avengers Assemble, and then that was awesome. That was such a yes moment that I can't wait to get that moment on Blu-ray. Get the Blu-ray, and I'm gonna play that moment in a loop, because that was just freaking awesome, and it was worth it all this time to finally hear Cap say Avengers Assemble. So that was fantastic to watch. Excuse me, let me get some more water. Excuse me, I apologize. My voice is gone because of my cold. I'm fighting to get over. Okay. Sorry about that. Now, in relation to that, my number 5 moment would be Cap wheels Mjolnir after Thanos blows up the Avengers compound, bombards it, and then you see Cap, Iron Man, and Thor face off against Thanos, and they're fighting him, and he's swatting them back and forth, and then he gets the upper. Thor's fighting with both hammers, Mjolnir and Stormbreaker, and he gets Thanos, Thor down, and he's kind of pushing Stormbreaker, getting ready to push it into Thor's chest, and then all of a sudden you see Mjolnir swing by and knock the crap out of Thanos, and then you see it fly back and you think Thor was calling it for a minute until you see it go flying past them, and Cap catches it. And that moment was freaking awesome. Everybody cheered in the theater. I was expecting that was going to happen. I was kind of waiting for it to happen because I know it happened in the comics, so I was waiting for that moment to happen, and it just didn't, it didn't disappoint. And you see Cap catch Mjolnir, and he has a shield, and then he starts swinging it, and then he proceeds to beat the living crap out of Thanos with the shield and Mjolnir, and that was just freaking awesome. And he even calls down uh, the lightning on Thanos, and that was just to see Cap do that in live action was freaking awesome. Okay, that moment was priceless. That's another moment I'm gonna play in a loop because that was just freaking awesome. Okay, that was just worth the price of admission just for that scene alone. Okay, sorry about that. Number 6, Scarlet Witch almost kills Thanos. When all the heroes come back and they're fighting Thanos left and right, fighting his army, and there's a moment where Scarlet Witch comes down and she says, "You cost me everything," and he says, "I don't even remember who you are," and she said, "You will," and literally she starts unleashing her full power on him, and she picks him up and she starts ripping his armor piece by piece off of him and starts squeezing the living. And you can see for the first time, Thanos is scared. He is scared that he's gonna die, and then he tells his lackey to have the ship rain fire, which means, and he says, "Listen, you're gonna kill our man too." He said, "I don't care, because this woman is literally killing me, so I have to do something to shake them." And literally, he calls down his ship to rain fire on everybody down in the crowd. But Scarlet Witch, that you got to see her release her full power, and she was, and if he didn't have that ship there, she would have killed him, because she was so full of rage from what he did to the Vision and to her. She was gonna kill him. Okay, and that was an awesome moment. Elizabeth Olsen was fantastic in that scene. Okay, now number 7, Tony's talk with his father. I thought that was a good moment because, again, we know from past movies that Tony didn't have the best relationship with his father, and so he actually got to have a conversation with him just before Tony was being born, and Tony was telling him about his daughter and stuff, and how to be a father and all this stuff, and you see they got a bonding moment together with his father, and he got to understand that his father really did love him, even though he didn't show it so much. But I think his father, he said, the kid's not even born yet, and I still feel like I would do anything for him. And I think that really got to Tony. It really just made him understand his father more. And I thought that was a nice emotional moment for Tony. He got to actually, before he died, he actually got to speak with his father, which I think was great. And number 8, Thor's talk with his mom. Okay, Thor. Excuse me. Thor was at a low point in this movie. Thor was at a low point in this movie in terms of his self-confidence. He felt bad because of what happened. That he didn't kill Thanos when he had a chance in Infinity War, and all the people died. And so when they went to Asgard to get the stone out of Jane, him and Rocket, and he got to see his mother. First he tried to deny that it was sneak around, but she caught him, and then he sat there and had a moment with her where she knew that he wasn't her Thor, that he was a Thor from a different time, but he got to actually talk with her and bond with her, and I think that really helped his confidence. And then also he also got Mjolnir back, because just before he left, he called his hammer and it came to him, and he said, "I'm still worthy." And I thought that was a nice moment for Thor, where he finally, his mother gave him that boost of confidence, and he finally felt that he could still do some good. And I thought that was a great moment. Okay, now, number 9, Thor cuts off Thanos' head. Okay, that was from the beginning of the movie, towards the beginning of the movie, when they went to that planet and they found Thanos still there, and they jumped him basically, and they were they took the glove off it and they found out that he used the stones, but he used the stones to destroy the stones. So basically, they found out that trick was for nothing, and they couldn't reverse, what he did because the stones were gone. And it was like a hopeless moment for a minute, and then Thor just snapped and just cut his head off. And everybody was looking at him like, "What? What's going on?" He said, "I went for the head." So he was still thinking about his failure in Infinity War, and he just kind of wandered off. And then you see he jumped to then it jumped to 5 years later. But that moment was good because it showed Thor's headspace was still messed up behind not killing Thanos when he had a chance, and he felt like he was a failure for not killing him when he had the chance. So he just chopped his head off because he said, "What more is there?" He was completely lost at that point. So that was like a low emotional point for Thor, a low emotional point for him. But it did stun me that he just chopped his head off anyway. So that was emotional. And number 10 on my list is Hawkeye's arc in this movie. Okay, which kind of covers a couple of different moments in this movie. To me, of course, the movie opened with his family getting dusted. Okay, which obviously devastated him and made him become Ronin, an assassin that was just killing people left and right. And then he had that reunion with Black Widow where she went to find him once they found out that they could use the quantum realm, and he was he was, I think the great moment where he said, "Don't give me that hope, like don't make me hope this and this is not going to happen." And you could see that bond right there, which is really good, which even led to them going on a mission together. And then of course on the planet where Black Widow dies, he sacrifices himself so they can get everybody back and Hawkeye can be reunited with his family. And of course that killed him, that she sacrificed herself for him and for the world. Okay, and that just, again, another strong point. And then last but not least is after Hulk did the snap and we hear the phone ringing, and it's Hawkeye's phone, and he sees his wife, and his reaction, Jeremy Renner's reaction, is just absolutely priceless. When he picks up the phone, not wanting to believe it, but seeing it, and then answering the phone and hearing his wife's voice. And that was just before Thanos blew up everything. But that was great, and I'm glad Jeremy Renner's character of Hawkeye got that redemption because, of course, he wasn't in Infinity War at all. But in this movie, he got to have that nice journey for Hawkeye, and I think that was nice for him. Anyway, that's my 10 emotional moments in Avengers Endgame. So let me know what you think. And again, I apologize for my voice, okay, because I'm fighting this cold. But let me know what you think. And let me know what your emotional moments were in Avengers Endgame. Feel free to leave comments down below. I have links to my social media in the description box, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Also have a link to my other channel, Paul's Views and Opinions. Please check that out as well. And this is Trey Pastor saying so long and take care.